For many years, people would joke about the omnipresent nature of Bumblebee across almost all Transformers toy lines, as well as the fact that regardless of how short or how long a toy line would be, Bumblebee would always be there. Imagine most people's surprise when Bumblebee and Cliffjumper, his usual repaint, didn't show up until Wave 3 of Blokees. But thankfully, when they showed up, they were incredible, some of the most standout model kits of the entire line, and a bit more different than you might expect. At first glance, the pair might appear similar, but the more you inspect them, the more you realize that there's actually very little shared pieces between the two, and Cliffjumper actually retains a great deal of his G1 namesake's design features, something that many much more expensive figures often omit. The most obvious point of difference is in the head. Cliffjumper has his traditional straight horn helmet, whereas Bumblebee's horns are the curvature of the G1 Bumblebee. More importantly, whereas Cliffjumper has his slicked down helmet sides, Bumblebee has his hexagonal honeycomb design. Looking further down to the torso, you can see not only is the paint different, but even is some of the sculpting, giving Cliffjumper his shoulder pads, a black line right above his neck, and an entirely different windshield sticker. Bumblebee's design actually makes him look like he has a little bit more of a gut, and past that has a very different layout of deco. And even more impressive to me is they recalled the fact that whereas Bumblebee is entirely black and yellow in his arms, Cliffjumper actually does have extra gray right below his shoulder. A little detail, long distance. I don't know how often I can repeat that maxim, but this is a wonderful example of it. I also quite like the faces here. Bumblebee looks a little bit more naive and curious with large eyes. Cliffjumper has his teeth gritted in anger, possibly fear. However, I do feel as though Cliffjumper looks better. Aside from the head resting on the neck much easier, the eyes pop so much better with a more clear blue outline around them. Bumblebee, by comparison, looks a touch dull. What truly tickles me is how the differences continue into the lower body. Cliffjumper has the standard lower legs of the Autobots, as well as the normal Blokees' feet. Bumblebee has much more blocky and chunky aesthetics to his lower legs, as well as the Volkswagen hood feet that the G1 Bumblebee is famous for. You would expect that all these pieces would be reused for Cliffjumper, but instead, they haven't been reused at all yet across the entire toy line. I won't lie, I am so happy to see all the differences here. Cliffjumper is my favorite Autobot. Bumblebee is arguably the most famous Transformer of them all, aside from perhaps Optimus and Starscream. So seeing so much love poured into both of them, especially so much love poured into Cliffjumper, who's something of a B-lister, really does the heart good and shows the commitment Blokees has to making these model kits truly spectacular. Another wonderful point of difference is the change in accessory loadout between Bumblebee and Cliffjumper. Cliffjumper comes with the blast effect piece, first seen with Ironhide and Ratchet in Wave 1. It gives his gun a little bit more life, and it works for a trigger-happy Autobot like Cliffjumper. As for Bumblebee, he comes with both a video monitor in order to make calls, and a thumbs-up hand. So far, the only unique hand in Blokees. Not a single other figure comes with that hand. What's even more incredible is if you look at the video monitor, you can see Spike is making the call to Bumblebee. The thumbs up is so that he can reassure Spike that everything is good. However, not all is well. Bumblebee has a hard time actually coming together, with noticeable seams in his torso and his head. That issue does not affect Cliffjumper though. He is actually far more sturdy than many of the Blokees I've messed with. Given that Cliffjumper is my favorite, I will admit I'm rather happy it turned out this way. Aside from their unique accessories, both Bumblebee and Cliffjumper come with 2 display stands, splayed open hands, and 2 gun-holding hands. Bumblebee also has his pistol, though admittedly I don't think it suits him as well as it suits Cliffjumper. With everything taken into account, I think Bumblebee and Cliffjumper both make for great model kits. I do feel as though the fit and finish, as well as the aesthetics of Cliffjumper, do make him win out in my eyes, but Bumblebee has so many unique pieces, and has the appeal of course being Bumblebee, on his side. These are two great kits, though I wouldn't necessarily call them standouts.